Hey everybody, it's Ryan Hickey. So it's officially happened. James Harden is now a member of the Brooklyn Nets. So I'll ask you the obvious question. Does this get Brooklyn closer to a championship? Are they now better positioned to win a title, maybe even win multiple titles, with James Harden on their roster teaming up with Kevin Durant and teaming up with Kyrie Irving than they were before this trade? Comment below. Love to hear your thoughts. For me, there are two prevailing thoughts in my mind that has me not liking this trade at all, and I don't think it's going to result in multiple championships, let alone even one championship, let alone a finals appearance. I don't think the Nets will even reach the finals after this James Harden trade, and here's why. Two reasons. Number one, how can anyone actually believe that these three players, but specifically Kyrie Irving, specifically James Harden, can actually get along on the court? As we know, Kyrie Irving, right? He's been in Cleveland, he's been in Boston, now he's been in Brooklyn. He hasn't gotten along with teammates at either stop before coming to the Nets. He didn't want to play with LeBron James, forced his way out of there, wanted to make his own mark, wanted to create his own team, his own legacy, so he goes to Boston. And that's his team. They draft Jaylen Brown, they draft Jason Tatum, they're two young and rising and up-and-coming stars. He doesn't like the attention that they're getting. He wants out of Boston. So, in Cleveland, in Boston, he wasn't able to get along with his teammates. How can anyone believe that all of a sudden now that he's in Brooklyn, that he's quote-unquote happy playing for the Nets and wanting to play with Kevin Durant, that all of a sudden he's going to put his ego aside and cater his game to helping Kevin Durant get all they can, helping James Harden become a part of the team. He hasn't been able to play with others in the past. I don't think this is always going to start. All of a sudden, magic going to start now. So those are question marks. And speaking of playing nice with others, I mean, James Harden doesn't have a much better track record either. Look at Houston. They brought Dwight Howard. That didn't work out. They brought Chris Paul. That worked, had some success, right? I mean, they were up 3-2 against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals before Chris Paul got hurt. And obviously, as we know, they missed a million threes in a row as they ended up blowing that 3-2 lead. But they got tired of each other off the court, and a guy that he wanted, or a friend that he brought in, Chris Paul, boom, was traded. Traded for another friend, actually, Russell Westbrook, who came in town last year. And how did that partnership end? Didn't like the playing style that Russell Westbrook brought to Houston. So what happened? Boom, Russell Westbrook out of town this past offseason. So James Harden again, Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, hasn't been able to get along, hasn't been able to cater his playing style to fit the needs of his teammates. They were shipped out. So Kyrie Irving, James Harden, both unable to really cater their games, both unable or unwilling to want to work with teammates to do the best they can to get the most of the team. So I don't think that's all of a sudden going to magically change by some miracle that those three are going to coexist on the court together and it's going to be harmony. That's my first issue. My second issue is also this. Let's not lose sight, I should say, of the fact of why Brooklyn brought James Harden to town, right? They didn't bring James Harden to town to win more regular season games. They didn't bring him and make this trade and sell off their future in order to just make the playoffs. They brought him to town to not only get to the finals, win the finals, if not multiple championships. That is the goal here. At least one championship is the goal. Not getting to the finals, not making the playoffs, winning a championship. Well, what's the issue? Well, the biggest weakness in James Harden's game is what? Postseason play. So the Nets are banking and trading their future for a guy who historically has struggled in the postseason. Let's look at his career stats, right? When you compare his regular season stats to the postseason stats, his field goal percentage in the playoffs is down. His three-point field goal percentage in the playoffs compared to the regular season, also down. His points per game in the playoffs compared to the regular season, down. And his efficiency in the playoffs compared to the regular season, you guessed it, down. So the Nets are bringing a guy, the Nets are relying on James Harden to somehow miraculously become a postseason player to where he will be the missing piece, he will be the key element to help the Nets get to the title and win the title. So you're going to need him to perform in the playoffs. He can't just disappear like he did in Houston, because guess what? Same thing that's going to happen in Houston is going to happen in Brooklyn. They are not going to win a championship. And not to mention, it gets even more difficult, because not only now are you relying on James Harden to all of a sudden be this prime-time playoff player that he's never been, you are also asking him, in bringing him with Kevin Durant and pairing him with Kyrie Irving, to not only score in the postseason, be more efficient. Think about it. With those three guys, right? They all need their shots. In Houston, it was James Harden. He ran the show, he ran the offense, he took as many shots as he wanted. Well, he's not going to get the opportunity to shoot the ball 25, 27, 30 times a night like he did in Houston. So not only now in the playoffs, you're going to need James Harden to be a legitimate contributor and score points, something he hasn't been able to do. You're also now going to ask him to be more efficient, do more with less. He hasn't been able to do that either. So tell me, someone please explain to me how James Harden getting traded to the Nets makes this team a title contender, makes this team or gets them closer to a championship. I don't see it. Because of James Harden's postseason struggles and his inability and Kyrie Irving's inability to be good teammates and change their game to help the team, I don't think this is going to work. So sure, on talent, on paper, they have a ton of talent, right? Arguably the most talent of any roster in the NBA. With that said, I don't think this trade for James Harden gets the Nets any closer to a title than they were before this trade was made. So I'm curious your thoughts. Again, comment below. Are the Nets closer to a title? Can they win a championship? Are they the favorites in your mind to win the title this year? Comment below. Love to hear your thoughts.